Banana Slam Jam.
Hey, sir. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
So I'm sure everyone, as well as myself, is wondering what are you here for, bud? What's your role? What's your MMR?
So I normally play mid. I have been playing a little bit more support recently, but I played about 3 years ago. Well, I started playing about 6 years ago, but I took about a 3-year break. My MMR right now is 2,300, but before my break, I was at about like 3.1k. I want to at least get back up to that point. Is what I'm wanting to do, but of course, I always want to get better than that.
For sure. So wait, what'd you say you're at now?
2,300.
Okay. So let's do our best to get you back up there. Let's see here. So what did you bring me today in terms of games for review?
So I have a few. So normally I play a lot of Templar Assassin. I play Arc Warden as well as Lina. So I'll go ahead and do this TA game.
Okay. So obviously in bad matchups, there's a lot of ways to recover. It kind of depends on like what the hero you're playing are and what the hero they're playing, or the hero you're playing is and the hero they're playing is. Like, is their hero a kill hero, meaning you can't really walk up into lane? Is their hero one that's gonna like pressure your tower? Is your hero one that farms its way back in the game, or are you like a hero that gets level 6 and then wants to make a quick gank happen? You know, what is your recovery method? So TA, kind of like Alk, anything like that. Usually they just recover by farming. So obviously in this example with a rough lane matchup, we're going to emphasize any little bit of farm that you could have gotten extra in the game after the laning stage or during the laning stage, either one. Blocking was okay. Always feel free to practice that though. But you won your block, so that's fine.
Fucked up, and I didn't switch out my Tango into my inventory earlier, and I died for it here.
Okay, so why you died? This guy actually did a creep aggro trick on you, and you just need to be aware that it's possible and not commit too early. So, this is like probably 4k, 5k level stuff, but it's fine for you to notice it now, as you can practice mid. So, I tell people all the time in lane, like, how you predict people's movements and stuff is based on creeps, how low they are and stuff. So, this Veno, I don't know if he did it on purpose, but you went for this range creep when it was 2 or 3 hits away from death. And watch what he does.
Please me.
He just hit you. That's why you died. No other reason. You literally just died because you walked up to hit a creep that was 3 hits away from dying. He aggroed it, and you took 6 or 7 right clicks trying to finish off that creep. So it's just having the idea that you know you can get punished for that, going to the creep too early. If you're at a disadvantageous matchup, it applies a lot. If you're at an advantageous matchup, it reverses, right? Like, you can make use of, like, if you're the Veno, you can be like, this guy's going to go for the creep. Guess what? If he right-clicks you a bunch and you back off, then what's he going to do?
Say that one more time, sorry.
If you go for the range creep and he right-clicks you a bunch, he leaves you with 2 options. 1, to tank 6 right-clicks and get the last hit, or 2, back off. If you back off, what's he going to do?
He's going to deny the creep.
Yeah. So that's why he's choosing to do it. Why do you think Veno would choose to hit you rather than try to deny the creep?
Well, he's got Poison Sting, and if I back off even just 1 right click, it's like a bunch of damage with Poison Sting. The more right clicks, the better for him, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other reason you can come up with?
Why would he decide to hit me instead of the rate? I mean, his base damage is also really low, so
yeah, absolutely.
He's not going to be able to deny the creep well.
Why would he try to go for the deny when he hits for 52 and you hit for 66, right? So these are just things that I'm mentioning to you as things to think about, like the way to play the lane. If the guy has lower base damage than you, or if you have lower base damage than him, it's more beneficial to usually, especially if you're a longer range hero, because oftentimes like the melee heroes have more damage and stuff. It's best to just choose to right-click them a lot rather than to try to deny creeps, because, you know, just trying to contest a guy that has 15 more damage than you just doesn't make any sense in terms of going for the deny. So it's all these things said, it's very predictable what he was going to do. Like, if he does it correctly. Obviously, if he just is 2k and really bad and doesn't do it, then that's one thing. But I'm pointing out to you, this is a great example of a guy actually punishing you really hard, and you just died. And why I say at the 2K, 3K level, if you can just learn like a very basic understanding of when to hit the guy, it's actually like really powerful. Like this guy literally just killed you because he knew to hit you rather than to deny the creep. So I know that was a lot to talk about on one creep wave, but really good punishing by a low MMR player like the Vino, and you almost kill him anyway. Imagine if you hadn't taken like 6 right clicks for free, you know?
Yeah. And my goal was try to like try to pressure him with the range creep with side blades, and then eat a tango, and then try to kill him essentially. But now I'm just like, I feel like I'm in such a worse position because I didn't do that.
Yeah. It's just knowing, like, seeing what he did there. That's the way you learn in Dota. It's like, oh, he punished me this way because I went for the creep too early kind of thing. I was out of position, whatever. And then you just learn from it. I'm just pointing out to you all the things that he did, and like maybe he didn't do it for all the right reasons. He just happened to get lucky. But yeah, so obviously at this stage the lane's terrible. I would just leave. I would maybe get level 3 and leave.
Okay.
There's literally no reason to stay here. If you watch a lot of like really high level TA players, if they're against Huskar, Razor, actually Razor they've started laning against it because it's not that bad. At least until like level 4 or 5. At this point in the lane, they actually just leave. Is Veno going to take your tower at this stage in the game?
Not really, no.
No. So what are you concerned about? Why are you here? Is this...
I guess...
are you denying him any creeps?
No.
Okay. So if you're not denying him any creeps and you're spending a lot of gold on regen, isn't it just more efficient to hit neutral creeps than it is to contest him? Because the only reason you would lane is if you're making him like expend a lot of health and mana to harass you, or like you're denying him creeps. It may look like, hey, it's 6 to CS to 4. I'm pretty sure he should have way more CS than that. He's just missed a bunch. Like he had absolute free reign of like 2 creep waves, and he says 6 CS after 3 minutes. This speaks a lot to like your bracket and how you can get out of it. Like even though this guy's beating you in lane, you can just retreat to the jungle at this point. Meld tells me you want to contest the lane, which means your mindset's completely off.
Okay.
Like, it should always reflect your skill build, too. This comes down to a lot of, like, knowledge of matchups. And I said at the very beginning of the game that when you're playing certain heroes, the way you recover is always different. When you're a hero like Queen of Pain, the reason why she's always been, like, more towards the end of a draft pick until recently was because if she has a bad lane, what does Queen of Pain do?
She just kind of loses the lane, really. Like she
just loses.
She doesn't really have anything. Yeah, she doesn't have anything to really do.
Yeah, and that's why TA can often be like a pretty decent like 9th pick mid and competitive if they haven't seen the opponent mid. Because even if they decide to counter you, if it's a good TA game outside of your matchup, which in this game against Void Slardar, that's a very good TA game. I think you just recover. So who cares? Like if your lane's not all that great. So obviously you want a good lane whenever you can get it, but if you don't have a good lane, then you just gotta respond accordingly. So you definitely should just max meld. You should just go like 302 and or not max meld, excuse me, max refraction. Go 302. You should already be hitting neutrals at this point. Maybe even stack the medium camp. So you are gonna start hitting neutrals. I'd say a tad late and with the extra point in meld, but I'd say this is okay. So when you're in lane losing mode and farm recovery mode, whatever lane you're in, you just have. What's your only concern about the actual lane itself?
To make sure I don't lose the tower.
Okay, absolutely. So you're good. You know that. So you're rotating back. That's good. And if this Veno were to static the lane on his hill, what would you do?
Just keep farming neutral.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's just making sure you're on the right mindset there. Good. Okay. Yeah, like, this just isn't worth it, right? What's happening here?
Yeah, it's just a waste.
Yeah, and that's why you should just be in the farm jungle, rotate to defend your tower mode. Let me see, what item did you buy? Okay, you bought boots, good. I would even argue in this lane, you could just go boots to start the game. I'm not saying
go double wreath then, but I felt like the slow is just fucking me over, so I need something to make me a little bit better.
Well, yeah, so first off, if you're jungling and you're against a hero like Veno, what's your main concern?
Yeah, again, it's jungling, making sure to come back to the tower.
Yeah, so it's mobility, right? It's not like
Yeah, that makes
actual damage. So this is just something you can just keep paying attention to. In the lane specifically, I think I've seen TAs go boots against like Razors and Venos, specifically because even without items, you still do more base damage than they do. Like Razor and Veno, both TA counters that have very low base damage. So it's worth considering. The only reason usually mids have to go for these like double slipper circlet builds is because if the other guy does it and you don't, he just has like 8 or 9 damage more than you. So once again, emphasizing the why of items at like a very basic level. You know, this is just starting items and early items. So refining this can be really important. You're just gonna. I've learned that if I just play solid, no matter how good or bad my matchup is, the matchups are really never bad. Like, it's never terrible. The only reason bad matchups are quote-unquote bad is because, like, the hero obviously is going to beat you, and you don't, if you don't, like, alleviate that advantage that they're going to have. Like, right now, I would have rather, if this right now is so hard for you, this part in the game, because you decided to just lane casually at level 5 a second ago. Remember you just took a bunch of damage? You could have just jungled?
Yeah.
Like, so if you're worried about losing your tower, when's the main point of contention for losing your tower?
When the creeps are under the tower.
Well, I'm specifically referencing a minute in the game.
A minute in the game?
Yeah,
when am I?
A specific minute.
So at like you're saying, at what point exactly am I worried about the tower getting lost?
Yeah, absolutely, and especially in a lane like this where you're jungling so early.
Probably around like my 10-minute, the 10-minute mark would be where I'm most worried.
You're not worried about a 5-minute catapult push from any hero in the game?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's why I was thinking 10-minute because we were at 6 minutes right now. Yeah, okay.
So what I'm saying is this Veno, I think, even did a really poor job. He probably could have kept his catapult alive, and you had no way of contending him. So losing all your health at like 4 minutes in the game is even worse, because then at that point you're not ready to contest the catapult. So you should almost always be geared up, like, as close to full health, full mana as you can be. Sometimes in really bad matchups, I just go to base. Like, yesterday, it wasn't a terrible matchup, but I was against Queen of Pain, and I was getting roamed on by a Tiny, and I was, like, half health at 4 minutes and, like, 20 seconds, and I just decided I'm going to go to base, because I need to be ready to fight at this catapult, especially in the high levels. Like, the 4 will almost always roam on the mid lane if the opponent mid is favored, right? So, like, at my level, the Mirana would be sitting in your lane right now. Because if Veno hits a Gale... Honestly, if Mirana just walked behind you, you'd die. Like, you see what I'm saying? Why it's even more important? So, like, the first example when you died was an example of a mistake that got punished. This is a mistake that is technically getting punished, but it's not getting punished by you dying. Yeah, as much as it could be. So, all these things like the 5-minute catapult, you know, whether or not you farm in lane or not, like, these are all things that are just going to rinse and repeat every single game. It's just a matter of judging matchups. I'm just trying to make sure you know your options. And now you're just sitting here super awkwardly. This happens a lot in 2K. Like, when I watch 2K coaching sessions and replays and stuff, you just don't know what you're supposed to be doing. And so it's fine. Like, it's not, you know, that's why you're here. So it's like...
I was trying to like get someone to come out and help me because I think if he's sitting between our tier 2s, we could do something, but there was no response from the team, so I didn't know if anything was happening. But
I assure you, if you're sitting there with 1/4 health and 1/4 mana, you are unhelpable, sir.
Okay.
Like, you are not, you cannot be helped. So if you like didn't contest him at 4 minutes, you maybe farmed a couple jungle camps, cleared one wave, came to defend the tower with the catapult at like full health and maybe, you know, half mana, then you could probably call for a rotation. And at that point, if you get one, great. If you don't, then at least you're defending your tower with your resources. Okay. But instead, like, I assure you, if I'm playing support and my mid laner or somebody's saying help me, and I look and they have no health, no mana, I just ignore them. Like, they're actually useless. Like, the reason why, I'll ask you this. I say this in a lot of coaching sessions. I never mind rehashing this point. Why would a hero not be aggressive on you?
What would their hero not be aggressive?
Yeah, say in any matchup, doesn't matter heroes. Why would, like in this example, why would Veno not be aggressive on you?
They have free farm, a free lane, or a free tower.
Well, what I'm saying is he's pushing your tower and he's cutting your, like, he's between your mid tier 1 and tier 2. He's killing your tower, but he's still being very aggressive, right? So I'm not saying being aggressive as in, like, killing you or, like, hitting you. I'm saying, like, standing on your side of the map and, like, cutting your wave between tier 1 and tier 2. What would stop him from doing that?
If there was threatening for him to die?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm a mid laner and I see the opponent mid sitting at 1/4 health, 1/4 mana, am I scared of you at all?
Oh no.
I don't give a shit that you exist. Like I'm going to behave in the lane as if you don't exist because you don't exist, right? And that's why, like, when people say, you know, are you supposed to pressure the tower, all this kind of stuff, it's like, what's the risk? You know, how far up can you play without being threatened? And you may say, BSJ, like, why am I not getting rotations from the supports and stuff? It's just 6 minutes into the game. Like, even a support solo TPing in, if you're not helping him, is just gonna, like, die or take, like, 500 damage, right? Like, they're just gonna take casual damage from this Veno. So, if you're not strong enough to contest the Veno, and you're the mid laner at, like, 4th health, like, the only thing that could possibly make your teammates strong enough to contest him would be you being strong. Like, that would be, like, at least as strong as you can be. You know, like, when I say that, I mean you have the resources. You have health, you have mana, you have decent items, whatever. So, yes, all these things I'm telling you are just meant to alleviate weaknesses of bad matchups. I would definitely, after this, just watch one tournament game of a TA versus any bad matchup. Whether it's like Huskar, you know, Veno, it's all pretty similar. There's a lot of very specialized players for TA. There's like Navi, Magical, you know, players like this. You can just watch one game and see like how early they leave lane, what their general itemization is. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but to get out of 2K, if you just itemize and play pretty close to what you're supposed to be doing, then you're just going to skyrocket for sure in MMR. Because all I've seen so far is a lot of regen being spent, because even though you have decent CS, all things considered, that's like, imagine how many neutrals you could be killing. Like, why didn't we just start doing what you're doing now at 4 minutes rather than 7? And this is just a learning experience, right? Like, you just need to learn from this, so that next time you play TA, like, what happened to me yesterday on my Smurf account here, I'm just going to show you. I played a Lesh mid game, and I fucked up a little bit, and I just got absolutely handled. Like, both games, I was in an unfavorable matchup. I got absolutely handled because I fucked up and died. Like, early game. I was like, oh, I learned a lot from that Lesh game. Next game, I came back, and, like, the lane was unfavored, but the lane went fine, and I went 6-2 and 15, right? Like, it's just, my point is that usually with this type of stuff, if you're paying attention to what I'm telling you to pay attention to, you can quickly learn, like, oh, that went wrong. I should have just done this, or like secured that extra 2 CS and left the lane, or I could have harassed a bit earlier, you know, that kind of stuff. That's my goal for you guys, because my hour 15 hour half coaching session or whatever, it can only do so much. I'm trying to point you in the right direction so that when you're on your own time, these are things that are self-correcting. So on TA, traps are all about either enabling you to be aggressive or defending your farm. I haven't seen you use a trap yet, so traps in this case could be used at like mid lane creep entrance, like on the river. It could be used at like the ramp from the bottom rune to the medium camp. It could be used at the ramp that the warlock just walked through, because that's where you're farming the triangle. Just think of traps as like tools to either aid your aggression, like scouting out heroes that are behind their own tower, or enabling you to farm, and you just haven't really been using traps. So a lot of times on TA, you can kind of tell yourself and whoever's watching you exactly where you're thinking about farming, like what your goal on the map is, just based on your trap placement. So definitely want to see more traps. Like right now, if you were going to get ganked, where would it be from?
From essentially the outpost, like right where the entrance of the
outpost. So if you left a trap on the ramp, on the bottom ramp, and then you left a trap maybe from the entrance of the small camp, who's ganking you here?
and nobody because I just
Right.
slow them as soon as I come
Right,
over.
exactly. So the point is, I know I see 3 bottom, but for all you know, since you see 3 bottom and there's a void top with no chrono, maybe you could just go hit that guy. You know, like, what if he's just farming the small camp and you see him on a trap and you go hit him? The point is, there's like, the traps are so low mana cost, and the minute you move, you can just use them again. Only 11-second cooldown. So there's just no reason to not be spamming traps in places that protect you. It's kind of like on Arc Warden, I see really good Arc Warden players placing Spark Wraiths in entrances to where the opponent would smoke gank them from, kind of thing. Because that Spark Wraith just serves as a scouting tool. It's really hard to gank super good Arc Warden players in an Arc Warden meta because they just place these fucking Spark Wraiths that you can't go through. Okay. So they're all bottom. You push out the top lane. I think your farm patterns here are reasonable in terms of like farming through the jungle top. I genuinely believe you've just made this game really fucking hard by what happened mid. But if Veno's dead, you can always fight. So you guys want to fight. What are you going to do with it? Okay. So the way I look at this is that you're right here. Look at the minute mark. Are you going to be able to go do something else and come back and farm these creeps before the minute mark?
At this minute mark, I could probably push out mid wave and then go back.
Okay. Could you farm these creeps and then go farm mid wave?
Probably, yeah. Well,
by the time you finish farming these creeps, what's the game going to look like that's different from now?
There's going to be a lot more heroes alive.
Yeah. So would you rather farm the mid wave first and come back, or farm these and go to the mid wave?
Farm the mid wave first.
Do you see how priority of farm can work here? All priority of farm is, you always want to be taking the most dangerous farm when it's safe enough to do it. Like, that's how you should always think about it. And it's usually the safest moments in the game are when the opponent's dead, right? Like, that's pretty straightforward. If anybody watches my sessions regularly, they'll keep seeing this rehashed, that every single time I see people in, like, anywhere between 2 to 5k, really, that you get a kill, you just don't make use of it. Like, you guys basically just play really scared on the map despite killing people. Like, what's the point of killing them? Like,
makes sense.
You know what I mean? So, the way I look at Dota is every decision you make should be based on your own strength and how strong the opponent is at punishing whatever you're trying to do. And if they're dead, you should act like they don't exist. And if they didn't exist, what would you do on the map? And that should be the first thing you do. So if this was like 1240, I would kill these camps. Because that's just more efficient. And maybe one of your supports could go nuke mid. You see what I'm saying in the difference there, though?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, cool. Because at that point, you would be choosing mid-wave over these camps. So, in both cases, you're getting... In this case, you're getting the same amount of farm both ways. One way is just strictly better. Now mid-wave doesn't get pushed. Okay. Warlock actually just de-wards you guys. Ballsy move by him there.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
I would say in this bracket, if you're playing like... Okay, so first off, when you see this map orientation, like you see one hero here, you see 2 mid, and you end up seeing 1 bottom. Are you looking to fight them right now?
No.
So where should you go from here?
I should be heading to the top.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Like, it's pretty straightforward when you look at it in hindsight, but your farming pattern should either be towards the enemy on purpose or away from the enemy on purpose. And in this case, you're going towards the enemy in a game. I guarantee you do not want to be near them right now.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
The game just gets really awkward. You guys have, like, no pressure on the map. Like, imagine if you had forced top a bit earlier, then they leave like they just did. Notice how they left mid. Why did they leave mid?
Because Clink's pressured up.
Exactly. So... that's how you get them to leave where you want them to leave. You know, like, that you force them to go somewhere else. There's 2 ways to make people leave. Indirectly, which is you forcing them to go somewhere else, or directly by killing them. That's the only two ways you can get them out of your face. So if they're in your face, you need to decide with your specific lineup, with your specific timings based on that game and stuff. Like, obviously in this game you're underfarmed and you're not the best against their heroes. You just need to choose. The only exception to this is, like, if your hero is not the one that can push top and somebody's already doing it, maybe. In which case, like, at that point, if all the waves that could be pressured are being pressured, maybe you farm near the guy that's pushing top. Like, I would probably still like you farming closer to that, because that is away from the opponent. It's less easy for them to gank you. But yeah, so the last thing you should be doing is just jungling when the opponent's up in your face like that. It's really important to have a sense of urgency to go elsewhere. At least work your way there. At the very least, like, some games you have to just absolutely rush there, stop what you're doing, stop hitting neutrals, and go kill the wave. In other games, maybe when you are really close to an item like this, you can farm your way there. You know, you can just kill all the neutral camps on the way. But, you know, that's up to you to decide every single game. But the point is, the only correct option is to go away from where they are. So whether that's farming there or walking there, either one's fine. And if you were doing either, maybe we could talk about exactly why one was better than the other. Like, at that point, you know, when people ask about, like, logical progression of coaching sessions, it's like, my first step is to tell you, make sure you're farming away from the opponent when you don't want to fight them. And then the next step will be, you know, how many camps are you supposed to kill on the way, why, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that's where the refinement will come in there. So, you have a Blink Dagger. Are you willing to fight?
I mean, against Venomancer still right now? No, not really.
Like, what I'm saying, though, is if there was a skirmish that broke out, people casted spells, would you be willing to show up?
Yes.
Like, you actually bought an item that allows you to kind of do that, right? I'm not saying that you're like, hey, guys, let's smoke and fight them, but you're willing to fight, right? So, the question is, what do you think I'm getting at here, if you're willing to fight?
Why am I not mid, and why am I trying to pressure bottom?
So it's absolutely fine if you're pressuring bottom with what?
A Desolator.
With what available?
Teleport Scroll.
Okay, so if your hero is willing to fight, what did you do wrong here?
I TP to the bottom lane, and instead of trying to go over and apply direct pressure to them, I'm trying to apply pressure to their bottom tower in an unsafe fashion.
So, notice how not a single time have I told you shouldn't be bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you do wrong? It's not that you're bottom that's the problem. I'm sure people who watch my sessions all the time know this answer. Stop fucking TPing out of base when you're willing to fight them. Why'd you TP out of base? Just walk there. Just blink there. It costs you maybe 8 seconds, you know? Like, the point is that if your hero is willing to clean up kills, willing to fight, just walk. If you have, like, what you are saying by TPing anywhere is, I don't want to fight anywhere else on the map at all, ever, for the next 80 seconds.
Okay.
That is what you are declaring by TPing to this lane. So,
Okay.
there are several options when you go back to base and you get your Blink Dagger on these type of heroes, right? You can say, hey guys, let's fight them in smoke. Hey guys, let's defend this tower, and you show up to mid tower directly. Or guys, I'm still farming. TP somewhere and farm. Or 4, hey guys, I'm willing to fight, but if something happens, I'm going to be bottom. Which case you walk. There's like 4 different scenarios that can occur, right? And most of the time on TA, it would be that last one. On TA specifically, most of the time it's that last one. Because even though you are wanting to farm most games when you buy that Blink Dagger, like, you're not looking for 5v5s. If Void uses Chrono, if Warlock uses Golem, if Venos used his ultimate, you are more than willing to show up to this fight. Like, you are more than willing to be there. And you have to be. So, in that case, you have effectively spent 15 minutes farming, and then you said, hey team, you guys can do it in another 80 seconds without me, right? Like, you got this in a meta where everyone's fighting, right? Like, no, don't do that. So, it happens a lot in my games, so this is not a 2K mistake. This is something, sadly, I could teach a 2K player not to do, and 6K players do it all the time. If you're watching streams and a high-level player says, "Hey guys, show up to the fight," and his ally says, "I don't have a TP score, or my TP's on cooldown," I guarantee if you pull up that replay, that guy TP'd out of base when he shouldn't have. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. Says a lot about your understanding of the state of the game, the way you use your TPs. The way you itemize, the way you use your TPs. I think you pressuring this tower is absolutely fine. And maybe you were never supposed to show up to this fight. I'm not telling you that you should have showed up to this fight. I'm telling you, you need that option, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get what you're saying.
Cool. So overall, your mistake to go here, your choice to go here was not a mistake. That was good. I like that you went there. Just the way you did it was wrong. Okay. Okay. Bottom is your home, sir. Deadlane concept. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it a little bit, but I still am not entirely certain about it.
Okay. Long story short, you know, you'll learn a lot more along the way, but unless the opponent is forcing you out of there, on Dire you go bottom, on Radiant you go top. That is where you live. You pressure that lane consistently. You want to learn how impactful this can be? I'm going to give you a replay ID. 1 second here. TA is absolutely a great hero for doing this, especially in your bracket. Feel free to watch that game from Mason's perspective of what, like maybe 20 minutes plus. You can watch that game later, obviously. Watch what pressuring bottom did to his team. Okay, just feel free to like see what they see, and then you can see what I did. The only reason we won that game, and Dubu was even calling it out the entire game, was because the opponent was trying to get stuff done on the map. We didn't want to fight them head on, which, would you agree that fits the description of this game?
Very much so.
Okay, and all we did was keep forcing them back to bottom. Like, and that is the lane you play. It is always easier. Don't ask me why yet. Like, you're just not ready for it. It's bottom. On Dire, it's bottom. On Radiant, it's top. It's very straightforward. So what I mean is you clear these 3 camps. Unless they are giving you a reason not to go bottom, you go bottom. Okay? So earlier, when you were farming top, why would I be okay with you farming top instead of bottom?
Because there was 3 heroes down in the bottom lane.
Exactly, right? So that was a very obvious reason to not go to bottom. If you have absolutely no information, the safest part of the map is bottom, period. So, like, not only that, but if they kill you top, what are they going to do afterwards?
They're going to try to push that top lane.
Name something more important that's on the top half of the map.
Oh, Roshan.
Okay, if they kill you bottom, then what?
They have a long way to Roshan. They can only really pressure the bottom lane.
But if bottom lane's pushed into their tier 2, then what? If they kill you, then what?
They cry a little bit because they can't really do it.
Yeah, they kill you. Okay. So the point is, in both cases, you're farming. In both cases, if they gank you, one of them is just strictly worse. Like, it's just strictly worse. And so, most notably, you're playing where if they gank you, there's no objectives. So not only that, they don't want to play there in general, right? Like, why would they play there in general if they don't have an objective there? And so if you deliver yourself to where their objective is, you're just giving them 2 birds with 1 stone there. That's all you're doing. So that's like a TLDR of Deadlane concept. This whole time, why is this decision awkward for you? You can't fight them head on, and then what's your other choice? I told you.
I'm no longer pressuring the bottom lane.
Crazy.
And now they're all mid, and now I can't really fight them. So now there's no reason for them to just take the tower.
So my next question would be: is this something that is fixable now? Can you 100%. Now go? Could you now go bottom and fix this?
Right now, no. At this moment, I mean, it take a while, but they'll take the tier 2 and possibly pressure your high ground at that point.
So is it fixable at this moment?
No.
So when did you have to do it?
About a minute ago.
Preemptively. The point is you have to be there all the time. Like, you can't... This is the reason... The explanation I give is it's all about pressuring the map, right? You're trying to avoid them. Would you rather somebody poke you in 3 different places on your body or punch you in the face?
Poke me in 3 different places.
Yes, right? Like, so you'd rather... Like, if you're looking at the opponent's perspective, they don't want to be constantly pressured in one place. They don't want that. Like, that's not what they want. They don't want to be constantly responding to that. My team last game, in a bunch of 6Ks, they literally threw my fucking game because they kept trying to respond to bottom. I was Radiant. Like, they kept trying to respond to bottom. And I'm like, stop responding to bottom. Like, just go kill them elsewhere. Because they were pressuring bottom with one hero. They had a Weaver pressuring bottom. And I was like, why is it, like, this is something 6K players don't react to properly. You think 2Ks are going to do it? Like, it's not even going to be close, right? So, the reason why, the basic explanation I need to give you, though, to make sure, is you're doing it to split them up, okay? So, the minute they split up, you have to try to capitalize on that. Like, you have to be like, oh, you know, Veno TP bottom, like, run at the Faceless Void, he has no chrono, you know? Or, like if you have this ward mid and you see somebody jungling that medium camp, and you just saw Veno TP bottom, that's like a great opportunity to kill them. If one of them's jungling that medium camp right now, can you do anything?
The medium
the one that's underneath your ward bottom. Yeah.
Okay, if one of them's jungling that? No, not right now.
Yeah, but if you were to force one of them to TP bottom, and then one of them is then farming that medium camp, could you punish that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Because you know it's a 5v4. So it's like, that's a great opportunity. And the point is, like, when you're behind, it comes down to, like, what is the requirement to fight? And that takes a lot of understanding of Dota, a lot of practice. But 5v4 is always better than 5v5, right? Like, always. So, at least try to force 5v4s. Sometimes you'll force 5v3s. Sometimes the enemy team will just completely split up and be stupid. Like, one of them will go top, one of them will go bottom, the other two will keep pushing mid because they're stupid. Like, they do it in my bracket. I guarantee they'll do it in yours. So, like, if you're pressuring, that's how you force mistakes. And in my bracket, it forces mistakes. If it forces mistakes in my bracket, you think 2K players are going to behave accordingly? No. Like, they're not going to play properly. So this is how you punish it. Never leave bottom. Bottom's your friend as TA. You want to play mid laners that practice this? Lina's great. TA's great.
A lot of Lina.
Shadow Fiend is great. You know, any hero that likes to nuke out waves and positioning, like position-based nukers, are pretty much always ones that like to play this way. Also, heroes that function well by showing on the creep wave in a survivable manner, but they're not very good at getting gone on. So what I mean is, like, PLs and Jugs. Like, these are great heroes for doing this too. Like, PL and Jug don't want to be dove underneath a tower, but they're fine to push in bottom and get, like, ran at. Like, they don't really mind that because they'll disengage from you. But yeah, usually nukers that are position-based are great for this. Like, they want to be bottom. They like wave clearing. When I say nukers, wave clearers. So imagine if you guys took this fight 5v4 while pressuring bottom. You guys won this fight, great. If you win it this way, you would have 100% won it the other way. So all of this is effectively what's going on the map. Imagine how good it would feel to push that mid-tier 1 with that tier 2... Like, okay, how much more information would you have if that tier 2 bottom was being pushed by you instead of by them? Because right now, instead of pushing mid, don't you feel the need to go clear that bottom wave?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I'm just giving you all of the negatives of having not played bottom. At 17 minutes, I believe, is when you chose to go from the large camp to your own jungle rather than bottom. If you think bottom could be dangerous, that's when you get to wait in the trees until they reveal whether or not it is. And when it comes to not feeling like any farm is safe, by the way, that TP was trash. Moving on from that one, you could have just blinked there. Once again, taking yourself off the map. I would say for the short term, past the 10-minute mark, don't TP out of base. Pretty much play bottom and TP mid or top on Dire. Play top, TP mid or bottom on... Or sorry, play bottom, TP mid or top on Dire. Play top, TP bottom or mid on Radiant. That could be 90% of your TPs if you're playing heroes like TA. 90% of them. Where you're pushing top on... So we're coming from Dire's perspective. You're pushing bottom, fight happens bottom or top or mid, and you TP for it. Rinse and repeat. You're pushing bottom. If a fight happens bottom, great, you're already there. If it happens top or mid, you're TPing to it. Rinse and repeat, reverse it on Radiant. Like, I guarantee you, if you watch pro players, that's what 80% to 90% of their TPs look like. I guarantee it. Just watch it. You'll see it. Like, if you're looking for it, you will see what I am telling you to look for. So now, we have found our way to the right part of the map. 4 heroes mid. No TP, though. XD. So like I said, if your goal is to split them up and punish it, there's no reason to be there without by TPing. Like there's just no reason. It just doesn't. Yeah, you see it. Beating a dead horse now, but I really like rubbing it in.
No, you're fine. I get it all.
Okay. So Veno's showing bottom. That's a great reason to go top now.
Baby's edge will never die.
I would have argued you probably could have gone one more wave, but it's close. Top, I mean. So based on everything I just said, if bottom is your home and the only reason you don't go there is because somebody's there, why would you ever go top?
Someone's there.
So what's the point of going top? What does it actually accomplish, though?
To pressure the tier 1 mid and split them up the same reason that I went bottom.
Exactly, but you're splitting them up to what? Like when you're pressuring bottom, you're splitting them up to usually fight them favorably. If you're pressuring top to split them up, why are you what is that then accomplishing?
It gives me a little bit of advantage. Maybe I could go try to take a fight and find Roshan because I'm already closer to the top lane, or again to try to split them up and try to find a favorable fight.
Okay, so I guess all those are options, but 90% of the time when you're bottom, you're trying to force them to split such that you can take a favorable fight. 90% of the time when you're top, you're forcing them to come top so that you can go bottom and do that.
Okay.
Do you see how that would work? Like, you're trying to get them out of bottom so that you can then go bottom and then do what I just said is the way you're doing it. Like,
okay, so you essentially go top to go bottom.
Yes, that was what I was trying to emphasize. Like,
Okay.
Very rarely is it you pressuring out top because it doesn't actually create pressure. If you really think about it, you're not actually creating pressure. You're just having a wave that they don't want to deal with. Like, they don't want to go farm it, but they have to. Or they feel like they have to. And if they're obviously showing 5 heroes bottom, please kill the tier 1 top. I'm not telling you to never pressure that tower. It's
It makes sense.
it's just the conditions for pressuring that tower are very specific rather than the other towers, right? So it's very specific on those. Yeah, so you're pushing bottom to get favorable fights. You're pushing top such that you can push bottom. Reverse it on Radiant. Obviously, Roche is of a concern, so you are walking back. Surprising thing is that you walked here instead of pressuring tier 2 and then TPing when you had the TP available too. I'd say you could have easily had a BKB for this fight if you had just been more efficient on the map. So that's just a perfect example where if you have BKB here, you probably win that fight. Maybe you just win the game. So everything that you've done up until this point, yeah, you get Roche, suddenly map control, you have BKB, you have Roche, that extra 1,500 gold that you're missing is super costly. So you see Vino bottom, stop TPing out of base unless there's somewhere you need to be. That's a huge discipline thing that's really hard to get into head. Even I do it sometimes, but all MMR is how often you do the right thing. So I do it way less than you do, but I still do it sometimes. Okay, this game is just super awkward at this point, so I want to go ahead and make sure we get enough out of this session. Let's go ahead and pull up another game.
Okay, sounds good.
I think if you're down by 4K to that lineup with TA Clink, you're probably going to lose. Unless they throw.
Let's do this Lina game.
Oh yeah, Lina, okay. Not exactly a meta mid laner right now, but I think it's fine, and if you enjoy playing the hero mid to
I feel like in the right matchups, I just have a lot of fun with the hero. So
yeah, I think Lina's a fine hero to practice playing mid and stuff. I like I said, even though it's not exactly a meta hero, I think it's fine.
I also like picking it just because a lot of the meta in the 2K bracket is it's support pick, and then off lane pick, and then safe lane pick, and then mid lane pick. I feel like I could pick Lina at any stage in that, and they think it might be a support. So I'm not too scared about them trying to counter it in any way, shape, or form. And even if they try to counter it, it's a pretty well-rounded hero.
Lina certainly has games that she looks real bad. Could you give me a general description of when that is?
When kind of heroes that are run at you, kind of like a Slardor or a Spirit Breaker that just can burst you down really easy because she's super squishy and
I think the most meta carry that would piss me off to play against would be Ricky, probably.
Yeah.
I feel like Ricky would probably be pretty unplayable.
Prepare for
Just mentioning it to you, so like even if you pick Lina somewhat early, none of those heroes should be in the game, right? You're playing against Slaughter. You're playing against Slaughter, Ricky. I'll tell you, you know what? You actually win this game. Holy shit. Okay.
30 seconds to battle.
That's about the worst game I can imagine for Lina.
Begins.
Okay, so
You didn't need that.
I think against ranged heroes, the stun's generally worse.
Already icing over.
This is my opinion. I think the stun has to be very good to make it worth taking, because they nerfed Dragon Slave level 1 way back. Like, it used to be 105 damage or whatever, such that if you take the stun level 1, you're not going to have 2 points in Dragon Slave until 4 rather than 3. So I'm of the opinion, you know, I guess you can watch other replays in case other Linas disagree with me. I'm of the opinion that you level your nuke, unless you're against a melee hero like Kunkka or something like that, that you have to stun to get creeps, you know, because they're on top of the creep wave. Continue.
I've actually heard you say this before, and I just always kind of like, I was always wondering kind of why. Yeah, it makes sense that the biggest reason is just so that you can get your power spike at level 3 instead of level 4.
Yeah, you just don't have mana to spam both spells, so the stun either has to be like super impactful, in which case you're primarily stunning, or you should just take Dragon Slave and spam out creeps, because like, I can't believe that Wind Ranger actually let you hit her with a stun. Like, yeah, there's gonna be sometimes you can hit her with a stun, but like, there's a lot of times that you can easily nuke with Dragon Slave and like get a creep and get the hero, right? Like, there's a lot of times you can do that.
I also like it because I try to do things like you say in your videos, where like with that one right there, I was trying to nuke her out to get her away from the range of the creep, but I guess it's probably not like extremely effective.
It's just, you're not going to have enough mana to make use of that impact. Like, it just, I'm watching the lane and watching you, like, try to stun, then get the creeps. Doesn't it just look awkward a bit? Like, the fact, that was nice. That was a nice play. I think that could have just been a Dragon Slave, though. Did you even hit the guy when you stunned him?
That one, yeah.
When I say hit the guy, I mean right-click him.
Oh, I tried to, but I missed uphill.
Okay, you did right-click him once. Was that a right-click that you could have done if he was not stunned?
Probably.
Okay. That's my best description. So, like, a lot of times when I watch Linas, the best use of their stun is when they're against melee heroes. The guy goes for a creep, you stun him, and then you right-click him, like, 5 times. And that effectively makes her stun, like, 300 damage, right? In this case, your stun is 100 mana, like 100 damage, you know, 110 damage. And that's just... Compared to, like I told you, the Dragon Slave power spike, I just don't think that's worth it.
That makes sense.
Okay, so I don't have much else than that so far. Otherwise, your mechanics have been okay. Let me rewind this real quick. Okay. What would be one of the worst things about Lina that you could think of? There's like a lot of awkward things about Lina. They've fixed her backswing on her attack a bit, but just name a few things that feel really clunky about Lina.
Her animation just feels like way long, and are you talking like laning stage or just overall in the hero?
I'd say laning, probably.
Laning, yeah. I feel like over like her, it's definitely like her animation just feels way long. I mean, you did say it fixed it a little bit, but it still feels pretty awkward to me.
Okay. I'm gonna see. I'm actually curious. I've never asked this question this way. You're gonna go for this creep, this melee creep, and I want you to tell me what you did wrong mechanically. I'm gonna rewind.
Oh, projectile speed.
Right. Okay. What's wrong with this picture right now?
Right now.
When you attack this creep, you have your... What are things that would delay your attack?
What are things that'll delay?
Like how, like, okay, so when you're issuing an attack command, you have to think about the attack animation, you have to think about the projectile time.
Projectile speed.
What else do you have to think about? How far away you are? Absolutely, somebody in chat said that. So you could have stood closer to this creep. What else?
Projectile speed.
Look at your hero, man. It's real straightforward if you're looking for it.
Oh, turn rate.
Crazy. So you just... Wouldn't you say Lina's turn rate is ass?
Yeah.
So why are you CSing with not only your awkward attack animation, but also your terrible turn rate? Anybody in chat? Let's find this out here. Let's find this out. Does anybody in chat know what I'm going to say? Obviously, we're going over time in this session anyway, so it doesn't matter. But hey, anybody in chat? There's like a very short term. Let's see what people say in chat here that I'm about to say. And it's on a bit of delay, so we got to give them a second here. I will insta-gift a sub to anyone who says it. The first person that says it. Okay, is that close enough? Fine, that's close enough. Fine. That's close enough. Chicken 87, it's close enough, sir.
Use attack stop?
Yes. You know what that means?
2 years.
Yeah, so to try to hit this creep and then click S and then reset it, or just try to attack the creep multiple times.
Yes, you A stop A, right?
Yeah.
You've heard me preach that one. So this is something that may seem small to harp on, but what do you think percentage of creeps wise I should do A stop A on in this type of situation?
Pretty much all of them?
Yeah, 100%. Would you say it was a huge deal for you that you learned that? Yeah, Collie's been practicing a bit of mid herself, so it's pretty mind-blowing how much easier it is to time your CS. Do you think it's a shock to me and anyone else watching and to yourself that you missed this creep, factoring in Lina's turn rate, attack rate, projectile speed, everything? Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So, like, I think it's important to do it on melee heroes like Jug, who have no projectile speed, super fast attack animations, and by eliminating the turn rate, you're actually eliminating, like, 80% of the time, right? On Lina, yeah, it's a smaller percentage of the time that you're eliminating, but the time is so fucking long. Like, when you add it all up, you know? So, it matters equally on, like, every hero. So, this is a big one.
Anyone here know what a Deadlane is?
I will always emphasize this as, if you are watching this session, if you do not do A stop A to get last hits like this, where it's the most common time to do it, is when both of you are kind of at a stalemate. Wouldn't you kind of agree? Nobody wants to hit each other, because if you hit the Wind Ranger, what happens here?
I aggro the creeps and they hit me, and she can hit me too.
And what also happens to the creeps? Like, why would you not want to aggro the creeps right now?
It goes under tower.
Exactly. So there's no reason for you to hit her, and if she hits you, she's on the low ground, so you'll just hit her back, right? So there's a lot of times in lane where this kind of happens, where both heroes just don't want to hit each other. So in this case, A stop A is, like, really important, like, more so than usual, just because there's nothing else for you to actually be doing. If you don't do it here, I know you'll never do it in a contested moment. Like, this is a very uncontested moment, would you agree? Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Really nothing's happening right now. You both just took, like, a 2-second chill pill. Like, you're both just doing nothing for, like, 2 seconds, which is not, like, wrong, but I'm saying there's not very many moments in lane, especially mid, that fit that description. So, just barely misses it, right? Like, you barely miss it. These things add up a lot. So, maybe 1 or 2 CS a game. Cool. Okay. I always used to be really bad at CSing on ranged heroes, and then I watched pro players closely, and I noticed that they always faced the creep that they were going for, and it blew my mind when I started doing it. So, hope to pass that knowledge on to others. I don't know about the double null. I think it's a bit delayed on your bottle. I've been trying to line my bottles up with around 3 minutes. I think anything earlier is too fast because of the 4-minute rune change. And anything later is, like, I don't want to say greedy, but it's like, there's just no reason to wait that long. Because if you get it at, like, 3:15, what's the worst case scenario? You don't get the 4-minute rune, then what?
You get the bounty rune.
Yeah, so that's, like, worst case scenario. And I think that's perfectly fine most of the time. So, like, on Lesh, I realized on a lot of the games on these, like, Lesh Lina heroes, if you don't get the 4-minute rune, sometimes you can even just, like, kill a creep camp on the way back to base and go base or something, just to get absolute full mana, because at level 6 you have such high kill potential. That's why I'm comparing Lesh with Lina. both in spellcasters, both have really good kill potential at level 6, and they both need absolutely full mana to have that kill potential. So, okay. Let me rewind this here. So I think you're just, at this point, what is your stun actually accomplishing? What does stunning that guy actually do there?
Honestly, it's just hurting the creeps more to push into the wave.
Yeah, I mean, well, at the end of the day, you're effectively annoying him. Like, that's what you're doing. So it's like, what the best examples I can give was, now that you're stunning him, that means that there's something else maybe you could have done that was better, okay? So let's think here. So, I'm going to give a really simple... This is a trick question because the answer is really simple. What's better than getting one last hit with your nuke?
Getting all the last hits.
Getting all your last hits with your nuke. So instead of walking up and stunning this guy, what could you have done?
Right-click the creeps a couple of times down and then...
Make sure they're all going to die at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you right-click the range creep twice, right-click the melee hero once, melee creep once, you nuke through the creeps into the Wind Ranger. If she can test you for the last creep, you right-click her 3 times. If she doesn't, you get the last hit, right? So I haven't seen you set it up a single time where multiple creeps are going to die at the same time. And that's something that you, Lina specific, like there's a lot of heroes that make use of it, but Lina is like very important because she's very high range. Her nuke can threaten the opponent. She doesn't want to have to nuke for creeps. Her nukes are very expensive, but if she does nuke, they have to be like a very efficient nuke, right? Like you have to be very picky with your nukes. And what happens is, if you put 3 creeps at low health, what is that telling the Wind Ranger?
To try to deny it and come in range and try to deny those creeps.
Okay, so what is a better player going to think?
What is a better player?
Like, if you're putting all 3 creeps at low health at the same time, what is a better player going to do?
I'm probably going to nuke it.
Okay, and then what are they going to do? They're not going to want to tank the nuke, right?
Oh, yeah, so they're going to back off.
So then guess what? You don't even have to nuke sometimes. Because they just backed off.
Mm-hmm.
So remember how with Venno I told him to right-click you a bunch?
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves you with the choice to back off and let him deny or take a bunch of damage. Mm-hmm. Aren't you doing the exact same thing by putting 3 creeps at the exact same health low? Yeah. You're saying, hey, buddy, if you want to try to deny these, I'm just going to nuke all 3 creeps and you at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm giving you perfect examples of ways to set up efficiency on heroes, right? Like, you're using the same amount of stuns, you're using the same amount of nukes, but you're using them to gain more, and that's based on the creep's health. It's always based on the creep's health, whatever you're doing. Every single aggro movement, every single spell cast, every single A-stop A, it's all based on the creep's health, and, like, you just look at the creep's health. Like, right now, I think you were trying to deny this Wind Ranger, this one melee creep. That's, what you were going for. Part of a flaw with your plan is you're also stunning the range creep, which is part of the damage that goes into that melee creep. But you do get the deny. It's just like, you only have so little mana, and he just got 2 denies on you. So, on Lina, I would say in an ideal world, I would like to I see a lot of Linas just start right-clicking the range creep twice. Like, they'll just start doing that at the start of the wave once they have 2 points in Dragon Slave, because 2 points in Dragon Slave plus 2 right clicks will kill the range. So
I'll usually do stuff like that with Arc Warden too, where like as soon as it gets to level 2 or 3, I'll give like 2 or 3 right clicks to it and use a Spark Wraith to make sure it gets confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So same thing on Lina. And the great thing about that is, why would you not do that?
There's not really a good reason for it. It's only to make sure, like, if you wanted to also make sure you're hitting them with the Dragon Slave, but it's not.
No, my point is, why would I not walk up and hit the creep twice?
Oh, I'm afraid to get pressured and...
Yeah, you're afraid of the guy, like, hitting you or killing you or something. The point is that I'm really trying to emphasize to you and everyone watching. Every hero in the game has an optimal way to play the lane, an optimal way to play the game, an optimal way to utilize their spells. And all you have to know is when you wouldn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. Because if you know what that optimal is, and you know when you don't want to do it, then all you're doing is playing the game, meaning like optimally, you know how the hero plays optimally, you're just going to do it. and you're just looking out for reasons not to. And it makes the game really simple. Like, oh, I'm going to do this every single time as long as this doesn't happen. And so the minute you know... What?
Like, this game, I start doing it at like level 5, but I think a lot of these things that you're telling me, like even with like what you were telling me with TA, like when I start going into the neutral camps, like I just do them too late. Like I realize I need to do them, but I don't do them.
Hey
at
man,
the right
that's
time.
a big part. Like, hey, I believe you. I think that's fine. I believe you, and I think that'll go a long way in your MMR very quickly. Meaning, like, it makes sense that you used to be 3100, and since you kind of stopped playing, you dropped. Like, that makes sense. You're just a bit slow with figuring out what you need to do. So I'm telling you that if it's something you needed to do at like 5 minutes, it's probably something you could have done earlier. Like that's usually how Dota works. By the time you realize it, that means that you should just never make the mistake ever again. Like that's usually how it goes for me. I'm like, damn, I fucked up real big this game. I think clarities are just way better for mid than mangoes nowadays. I don't want to say never buy mangoes, but like I really like farming with clarities right now in mid. So why do you think Lina likes to pressure tower against Windranger? Why or why not?
Not really, because they both kind of clear waves pretty easily, and it's kind of difficult to pressure the tower. Like she does the same thing. Like she can just power shot the wave and come and try to pressure the tower, while I can just nuke the wave and try to pressure the tower.
Okay, and
So
when
that's just
both of you are level 6, who kills who easier?
I kill her easier.
That's not my experience with this matchup. Is that really your experience with this matchup?
Yeah,
Really?
but
It's easy to like stun combo a Windranger?
I guess if she uses wind run,
In my experience, they Windrun focus fire me with a javelin and I fucking die full to 0.
and I actually think that happens this game. To be
That's
honest.
my experience with Lina versus Windranger. I've actually played this matchup 3 or 4 times in the last year. That's my experience. So, with that said, I don't think your hero ever kills hers until what?
Like until I have Yules.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to have Yules, right? So, until then, you are in what mode?
Farm mode.
Mode smoke cigs, as Arteezy would say. So yeah, yes, and then for anyone wondering, yes, that is farm mode. So, that was just something he said on stream like 2 years ago or something. It was really funny if anyone was there for that. So yeah, either way, you're playing super aggressive. Like, you should just not be aggressive. If they bring a single hero, Ogre, even Mirana, you're probably just gonna die. Think about it, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Now that I think about it, it was the Mirana. In this game, I come over, I try to pressure the tower. The Mirana arrows me, and I die by the Windranger.
so I'm telling you based on my previous knowledge of matchups, and I'm going to tell you for analyzing matchups, you need to make this guess. If you made the guess that your hero is better at killing Windranger than she is at killing you, and then you made that mistake, perfectly fine, don't do it again. Right? Like, you learned. But if you didn't go into the decision to push tower thinking anything of that nature, that is your first problem. Okay, so like that needs to be the fix. I try to tell people, like, yes, I understand this is relatively low MMR, but starting to approach matchups in terms of your decisions of pressuring tower, farming jungle camps, pushing out the lane, defending your own tower, like in the TA versus Veno matchup, this is all stuff that you can start doing at 1K. You know, you can start doing this, like, once you've gotten the mechanics of Dota down. You know, whenever you start playing ranked after, like, 100 games, you could start doing this. It's like, I understand anyone, the less you've played, the less your understanding is going to be. Like, that's just natural. But if you're asking yourself these questions and making asserted guesses, you will learn way faster. Like, you're just going to not make the same mistake twice. So say you try to pressure tower with Lina. So when you compare Lina to DK, what is, like, so both heroes can potentially pressure the tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
What type of heroes stop DK?
Probably heroes like that have like heavy nuke damage, like a Lina or like a Necrophos or something like that.
Yeah, also heroes that, like, sustain bully him, would you agree? Like, Necrophos keeping him at, like, half health is, like, super annoying. Also heroes that maybe he doesn't threaten. Like, Medusa used to be picked as a counter to DK, just because she pushed out the wave, DK never kills her, and she used to have mana burn, or mana steal or whatever, so that made DK's life really hard. But on Lina, what kind of heroes counter you from pushing the tower?
heroes that can lock me down.
Heroes that kind of just kill you.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. Like, if I'm Lina and I'm against an Alk mid, that tower's fucking dying in like 7 minutes, latest possible. You know what I mean? Like, because that guy can't do shit to me, and I'll just nuke the wave in continuously. The point is, every hero potentially can pressure the tower, but then you have to gauge, you know, how strong am I? What are the reasons my hero wouldn't press tower? Is my benefits my tankiness? Is my benefits my damage? Is my benefits my wave clear? Do I do all of these things? You know, all these questions, right? I could tell you from my own prior experience, there's not a situation in the world where you pressure this mid tower. You get Yules this game and you go kill people. Like, like, you need like Yules, Hurricane Pike, Shivas or something in this game. Maybe a BKB on top of it. Like, you need a lot of items, I think, because they have minus armor, they have gap close. They have stuns that you could potentially need to BKB off. Yule's obviously a really important item on Lina in general. So, okay. The beautiful thing about these matchups that I really try to emphasize to you and everyone else is that I could have told you pushing this tower would have gone badly at 5 minutes. I could tell you that. And if you do it at 7 minutes, it's going to go badly. Like, I could tell you 2 minutes before you do it, it's going to go badly. And that's just because you understand the matchup. It doesn't require anything further than that. It's just matchup oriented. I also would have a ward for myself in this type of matchup. Very important. Where your heroes can kind of kill each other. That's what I mean by this type of matchup. So your mentality here is good. Nuke out the wave, and I would even say position yourself on that hill, walking to the river. That scared the shit out of me. I can't believe you did that. Okay, now you're crazy. You said you were going to do this, but yeah, you're crazy.
Yep.
I'll return the favor.
If you're in mode farm, what should your skill build be?
Farm mode? Yeah. Fiery Soul instead of LSA?
Cool.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Why am I okay with this TP to mid, for instance, and not the TP like bottom onto you?
Because this one, the tower was getting pressured, and it's going to be a lot harder for me to be able to get there without the TP.
That's your better question. What are you going to be doing for the next 80 seconds?
Doing the same thing that I was doing before, where
Cool.
I would just push out the wave and take that medium camp.
Please answer it like that next time.
Okay.
The reason why you TP somewhere is you have no intention to go anywhere else for the next 80 seconds, sir.
Okay.
Or you're going to, like, immediately do something and then run somewhere. So TPing mid's a bit different, just because, like, if you wanted to clear that wave and then immediately go bottom, it'd be nice to TP there, you know, that kind of thing. Now, this is a bit different. Wind Ranger rotated. I would definitely stun the trees that she could TP into. Yeah, those. Okay, you did it late. Okay. This is great. That's a perfect example. So, this is decision-making at its finest. Why did I tell you it was bad to push the tower?
Before, because I didn't know where the Wind Ranger is at, I didn't know where the Piranha was at in the map, and I don't have vision of where they could be at, and so
It's
it was
mainly
just
the fear
overall
of Wind Ranger plus 1 killing you, right?
Yeah.
So, if Wind Ranger's not mid, what does that mean?
That means I should pressure that tower.
Decision-making in Dota is a really cool thing, you know? It's pretty straightforward when you break it down. So...
Oh, you know what? Oh, I remember. I remember why I thought I could push that tower before, too, because I thought I saw Wind Ranger bottom before, but it was an illusion rune. So the illusion bottom fucked me up, and so then the Mirana arrowed me, and yep.
Okay,
That's what happened.
I see. I still think without a ward, I would still feel super scared.
Yeah. And,
earlier.
It's still probably the wrong decision, but... Yeah.
At least you had a reason for it. That's better than nothing, for sure. But yeah, so in Dota, I just think, like, what would my hero do if the other heroes in the game didn't exist? Like, this is really decision-making in Dota. What if the other heroes of Dota didn't exist, what would I do? And then I usually have some sort of tier list in my mind, meaning, like, Lina's a great dead lane pressure hero. Like, she's one to go bottom and pressure their dead lane. She's great for that. But she's also great for just farming mid, kind of like a Medusa, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the mid game, which one do you think you should do?
Probably just farm mid. Just farm.
I'm asking you
especially...
in games in general, how would you decide whether or not you should pressure bottom or farm and rotate through mid?
How would I decide if I should do that?
Yeah, which one is correct? Yeah, how would you decide?
If I have kill potential on the other heroes, it's probably better to try to go out and pressure the other lanes. If not, then just continue to farm mid, get my Euls.
I'm talking in the mid game once you already have a Euls.
I already have Euls, and I
Yeah.
have kill potential.
Yes.
Then I feel like it's probably better to pressure.
So what you're getting wrong here is what heroes are you supposed to look at to decide whether or not you should be pressuring or whether or not you should rotate between mid and jungle?
What hero should I be looking at? The heroes that kill me?
How about the heroes on your own team?
Oh.
Because what does Necro like to do? Does Necro like to
He
rotate
likes-
between mid and jungle?
No.
What does he like to do?
He likes to sit in his lane.
And where's that almost always going to be?
That's the off lane.
Okay. So in this game, once I get Euls, where will I probably stay close to?
Either probably stay close to mid, and he wants to sit in the off lane, and he probably wants to get a kill too, so probably rotate.
So you're
bottom.
going to be... We always look at it this way. You have a default where you stay and somewhere you can potentially go
Okay.
to like make something happen. Okay? So if you're behind, it was like the story from that TA game. If you're strong, like a hero with kill potential like Lina, you have a place you naturally want to farm and a place you naturally would rotate to. So in this specific game, where's the place you naturally farm?
I naturally farm mid.
And where would you naturally rotate to?
Bottom.
Okay. Does that not make like the 15 to 25 minute mark like super fucking easy? Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
like
it makes it a lot easier.
like decision making wise, that's so easy. The point is, when it comes to like Necro, that hero always wants to pressure bottom. Like that's always what that hero wants to do. But now you're in 2K. Somebody would say, BSJ, what if my Necro's just terrible and never does that? Then what?
Then go help him do it.
Then just go do it. Like he's not doing it.
Yeah.
You know, like he's just
Yeah.
not doing it. You know, like just go do it. The point of all these things is every game they're applicable to mattering. Like somebody should be farming mid and jungle ideally. Somebody should be pressuring bottom. You know, maybe somebody can be soaking XP top like a support like Crystal Maiden here. You know, all these things, right, can be done every single game. It's just figuring out where your hero fits there. But knowing, like, Lina's never a dead lane farmer, man. It's like, in my game, Slardar is never a fucking tower hitter. But some reason, that 6k Slardar wants to hit some fucking towers. What's the negative of Slardar hitting towers?
He doesn't hit very fast.
And
so
what does that hero do if he's not showing on a tower?
He's not showing. He's not presenting a risk to other heroes that he can kill
Exactly, right? So I'm just making sure you know, because every hero you look at, you can decide, is this a tower hitter? Is this a lane clearer? Is this a tower defender? Is this a dead lane farmer? If you understand what each part of the map generally means, not perfect, just to some extent, bottom is pressure, top is relief pressure. So why would you ever gank top in any game?
in any game.
Yeah.
If I just have great kill potential on the hero's top and there's no kill potential on the hero's
We're
bottom,
ignoring, like... So, if you get a kill bottom, what's it going to do?
I could pressure that tier 1 tower.
Okay, if you get a kill top, what's it going to do?
Probably nothing if we have the creeps at our
So
tower.
why would you get a kill top?
There's not really
There is a reason. There is a reason. Why would it be?
There's-
What is the opponent doing there?
Probably trying to pressure the tower top,
Yeah, so what are you doing by getting a kill there?
alleviating the pressure top.
Cool. That's great. That is literally Dota. Cool. Like, you have just analyzed Dota, the map. Dota 2, the map, explained. Top, relief pressure. Bottom, create pressure. If you want to gank top, it's because you feel like it's getting pressured a lot. You want to gank bottom, it's because you feel like you want to make something happen. There are exceptions to this, okay? Like I'm talking, the rules of Dota are like 80-90%, you know? Like, it's a vast majority of the time. And if you follow this script, you could easily make it to 5k. Like, you don't have to worry about exceptions for a long time, okay? But yeah, so it's the point is, like, you're thinking... I'm not trying to be rude. You're just not thinking in a way that thinks about the map at all. And nobody really does that, right? Like, people don't think about, like, what each part of the map means. So it's like, if you feel like there's no real objective for you to go for, but you're just trying to prevent the opponent from taking objectives, that's oftentimes when you're just trying to farm, right? That's usually what's the state of the game is. Like, you're just trying to farm. You're not trying to take any objectives. You just don't want to lose any. at that point, you can then decide, should I defend these objectives? And which ones are those? Like, how strong am I to defend? In the TA game, you kind of just had to give up towers, right? But in this game, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, just making sure. In this game, that's not the case. Like, you don't just have to give up towers. So you should definitely look to defend if they try to take a tower with like 2 or 3 heroes. In that TA game, when the Venom's pressuring, that's just not the case. But in this game, since you are a hero with potential aggression, it's great to think the opposite, where now you are, even though you're in kind of mode farm, if you see a good opportunity to rotate, if you see a good opportunity to pressure that mid tower, you should just do it. Like, it's gonna just, but like, that's what you're looking for, though. The idea is, if you know generally what state of the game you're in, you know what you're looking for. And if you know what you're looking for, man, is it much more obvious when it happens, right? Like, it is very clear. First and foremost, though, if possible, I think you had mana. I'd have to rewind, I'll just rewind. Okay. I would give this mid lane a nice little love tap here. I would consider giving that mid lane a nice little nuke. Not to farm it, just to push it. Okay, so you are bottom. I understand why you just went straight bottom. What else should you buy with this Yules?
Yes.
Okay.
that's immediately what went on my head.
Yeah, this game right now is scarring me. I've now played, I think, 3 or 4 games in the last 2 days against multiple Invis heroes, and I checked my teammates' detection, and they actually have none. It's unbelievable. I think at the 7K level, invisibility is the new invincibility. I didn't believe it, but now I believe it, based on the last few games. Like, if you watch my games, it is incredible. The good old Nature's Prophet pinging an Invoker to gank him, and he TPs behind him from base with no dust. No dust.
I just did the same thing. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're doing the same. Hey, man, don't worry, man. The writing is on the wall. There's proof in the concept. You can make it to 7K not buying dust against Invis heroes. That is what I have learned in the last 3 days. Bless you, Collie. That is what I have learned in the last 3 days. You can just make it to 7K without buying an ounce of detection. So you know what? You can take that as never. You just never buy it. Just don't buy it. You know, it's a myth. It's a fucking myth, dude. So I think this really does boil down to that you should be mid, naturally rotating to the Necro, right? Remember how we talked about that?
Yeah. Instead, I just decided to go down there without the
You see why it's now awkward?
Nah.
So that's why it's like, on Lina, you have 2 choices. You farm mid and jungle, or you pressure bottom. And correctly identifying what kind of game it is usually based on what teammates you have. And I make this mistake too. It's never perfect, but the more often you make the right call to be in the right place, the better it is. So based on what I said about your natural farming pattern and your natural rotation, what do I have wrong here?
I'm starting to farm towards the top lane right now.
Yeah, why the fuck are you going top? What's this? Your Necro's bottom now. Like everything, all those, you know, it's written in the stars. It's right there. It's on a platter for you. It's right there. You see where I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and you also missed a rune for it. Cool, you're playing the right part of the map, kind of. Like, you were around mid, and it worked out. Could have been better, though. Imagine if it was even better for next time.
I would have had a regen.
Yeah. Obviously, you can't, like, factor that in all the time, but that could have been a haste. That could have been a, you know...
A double damage, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been literally anything. Okay. Okay. Once again, why'd you gank there? They were pressuring the tower, you wanted to relieve it. Okay, cool. Like, you did it. If that's a decision you want to make, it's hard to tell you exactly when or not that's correct. I would have argued smoking there was probably necessary because good players would just ward their push like that, but, you know, in 2K, you don't have to smoke because people don't ward properly either, so... okay, so now we're rotating bottom. Okay. So my question is, Who on your team should go first?
Necro.
Okay, cool. Is it you?
Definitely not.
Okay. By the way, what in this patch, since they like reworked bots kind of, what would you say the use of bots is?
To get into more fights.
But what does it enable you to do while also fight?
Farm better?
Yeah, it allows you to like farm somewhere else and then TB to the fight, right? That's what it does?
Yeah.
So why would you walk to the fight? Couldn't you have just walked to base and then TP'd with full mana? Like, isn't that effectively what you could have done?
Uh-huh.
I feel like there's like 5 better options here. You could be farming top, you could be farming jungle, you could be farming mid, you could be walking to base and then TPing with full health, full mana, with full bottle charges. Any of those options, you would end up in the same place with either more farm or more resources. Would you agree?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so knowing why Boots of Travel, or like what they, in general, knowing what any item allows you to do, it's really important that you then make use of that item. And if you think about it that way, say you bought Boots of Travel, and then you just tried to farm the map and died all over the place, what did you learn there?
Probably needed a survivability item like a BKB or something.
Yeah, cool. You probably shouldn't have gone Boots of Travel. But it's like, I can't argue whether or not your Boots of Travel are correct if you don't play the game according to have Boots of Travel.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what if you were pressuring the map, and then you wanted to show up to a fight and had no mana?
Mm-hmm.
What would you maybe say about your Boots of Travel then?
They're not as useful. Well, I could have used them better because I could have got back to base, but if I don't have any mana, then what am I Boots of Travel?
What I would say is maybe you should have built the Kaya first.
Mm-hmm.
Or some other mana regen item first. Like, and then the Boots of Travel. But the point is, like, that's how you can learn. If you're playing the map according to, like, what items you have, whatever goes wrong, you can learn to adjust to. You're like, oh, I don't have mana? Yeah. Shit, I could have maybe flied more clarities. I could have gone Aether Lens first. I could have gone Kaya first. And then, you know, move on from there. Or, you know, whatever. Or I died, or I kept dying a bunch. Oh, I guess I needed survivability items. Shit, you know? These are just examples where as long as what you're doing matches what your skill build and item build is, then it's very easy to self-correct. But the minute that none of it makes sense, where it all kind of just is happening, that means to me that you're not thinking, you're not playing the game in a way that's like critical about, you know, this is why I did this kind of thing. And then it all kind of just doesn't make sense, right? And it's hard to correct that. And I absolutely hate it when we try to take fights or, like, we try to do something, make a call, and somebody just fucks up. Like, this is an example where somebody in my chat could be like, if he's going to fight, he just shouldn't go Boots of Travel. And I was like, well, I don't mind if he wants to go Boots of Travel and fight, but if he's going to walk at the fucking fight, why does he have Boots of Travel? But I have absolutely no way to... I can't critique your item build. I can only critique that you bought the item and then didn't play according to having the item, right? Like... there's like 2 different ways to talk about that, so it's much easier to analyze things when the thought is there. Okay, so I think it's like reasonable that you're fighting here. I do think so. Obviously, like you learned the hard way, you shouldn't go in first. Okay, we're gonna do just a tad bit more, and then we'll be wrapping it up here. Okay. So now what?
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
This is good. Pushed in mid and then TP bottom, but yeah, that's my experience with Lina versus Wind Ranger. I like to go Shadowblade versus Wind Ranger, specifically. Make sure you get the jump on her, not the other way around.
I really had that feeling this game, but I also have I've also started trying to do like the saying like just go like the same item build over and over again until you're trying to get better. Okay.
Yeah, I've talked about this. If that's your approach and you're trying to get like mechanically better, that's fine. If you're gonna go Boots of Travel every game, just play like you have Boots of Travel. You know, that would be my critique. If you want to like eliminate the itemization for now, that's great. I just need you to play like you have the items you have.
Yeah, makes sense.
In this game, ideally, I'd say like Yule, Shadowblade, Hurricane Pike Shivas or like Hurricane Pike BKB or something, you know, like that would probably be what I would go.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
You could even consider an E-Blade in a game like this. Just because you guys have a pretty good amount of magic damage and all 3 of their cores are right-clickers. Even Mirana's kind of a right-clicker. We're going to fast forward just a bit. This game feels really hard, even though you're only down by 1k for your hero specifically. But you guys do end up winning, so I would say since you do have, like, frontliners, I can't believe your Jug Build Maskman is in the game. That's pretty crazy to me. This, to me, just makes me so scared. Based on your teammates, where's the opponent?
Based on my teammates, they're either in their triangle or Roshan or somewhere where I'm close to.
So this is something I can break down. I just told this to my Slardar last game because the map orientation looks similar to what it does now, where I was bottom. I was on Radiant, but it's reversed. I was on bottom here, and my Slardar's farming jungle. What does this usually mean, at least in high tier Dota, between you and your Necro?
So, sorry, say that.
Would you agree the opponent has pretty good pickoff?
Yes.
So
100%.
the way you're playing the map right now, what does this mean?
It means that I'm in a position where I can easily get picked off.
If the opponent decides to do anything, who on your team is killable right now?
Me, CM, and yeah, it's pretty much the 2 big ones.
What about CK and Nick? Are they not killable too? You're not with them. Aren't like...
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I guess that's...
What I'm saying is, literally everyone on your team, if they were to get 3-man ganked, would die right now. And until just a second ago, Wind Ranger had not showed herself. So the 2 options were, they were either jungling, which is like... Or 3 options. They were either jungling, smoke to bottom, or just walking around top. That's like their 3 choices. One of those choices does not punish you. So even 2Ks will randomly stumble upon the right answer, okay? Like, my point is, you can't farm 3 lanes against pick-off lineups past, like, 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes. That's why the Deadlane concept exists. That's why it exists, because you can't farm 3 lanes. And you're effectively farming top right now, like, in terms of, you know, you're the top half of the map, your CM is farming middle, and your other 2 cores are farming bottom. Okay. You're allowed to clear mid, but then where do you go?
Bottom.
Bottom. This is just begging someone to kill you. Like, you're actually just begging them to kill you right now. Like, it hurts my eyes, like, to see it when I'm in my games. Like, people do, like... Guess what happened immediately after that? One of your teammates fed. Like, it's not a secret. It is not a secret, chat. If you play 3 lanes against pickoff lineups, someone's gonna die. And it's not the person who dies' fault. It's the person who's playing the Deadlane part of the map. It is your fault. Please, just go to your team. It'll make CM's positioning way easier. It means if you see anyone in your ward vision bottom, they're going to die. You just can't farm 3 lanes. So if you have a core like Necro who shows in a lane, you pretty much have to play mid or his lane. That's how the Deadlane works. So, like, if Necro's showing top, you play mid and top. If Necro's showing bottom, you play mid and bottom. Like, maybe this seems a bit too advanced for 2K, but it really isn't. Like, what hero on your team is going to show? You're allowed to play mid plus that lane. If that is mid, then maybe I would always default to the off lane. Like, I would always default there. The dead lane is your own safe lane 80% of the games. Like, 80 to 90%. So, yeah, it's not a secret that one of your teammates just randomly fed there. This is why I freak the fuck out in the middle of my games when I'm like, why is my Slardar top? My other guy's mid and my other guy's bottom. Fuck! It's why I freak out, because it just doesn't work. Shocker, people are dying. Luckily, the opponent looks like they overextended. Oh, no, they still died. Okay, it's an all-out brawl fest, but I am gonna wrap up this replay here. Are there any final questions you have before we wrap it up, dude? I think I've said I don't want to overload you, to be honest with you.
You're good. No, it's got a lot of information, and I think it's really good. I do think that I need to realize a lot of my timings that I have earlier. I think that is a big issue that I've had, like, with just a lot of things, like when I can actually rotate with, like, when I'm doing well as TA and when I can rotate to the bottom lane. I feel like that's a big thing that I need to start paying attention to a little bit more, as well as just like understanding the dead lane concept of when I just need to be constantly pressuring that bottom tower and then rotating to mid or other things like that, unless there's some weird thing otherwise that's making it not happen.
Yeah, I think your mechanics overall are pretty good. I just think your decision making is obviously a bit rusty, and then the point is that I've seen people that come to me around 3K-ish, 2,500, that clearly understand that they're supposed to play bottom, and then for them it's like usually a mechanics problem, like they're not fast enough or whatever, pushing their buttons, and they're not efficient enough. I think for you the major thing is just playing the right part of the map, and your mechanics will carry you through that part. So
Okay.
I think it should carry you a pretty long way if you just quickly adjust, like you said, your early understanding of timings and where you play. I really emphasize this every coaching session I see it, because I believe it's the first and easiest thing to fix. And the minute you go there, there's so many different options for you that's going to be presented. For someone in chat, they're asking you, like, what if your Necro's playing top? Well, suddenly bottom's the dead lane. Like, that's just how it has to be. Is it worse? Yes. But does it have to be that way? Yeah. Like, usually there's a hero on your team that dictates where the rest of them are going to play. What hero would you say dictates where the opponent team's going to play?
There's Slardar.
What hero shows on lane the most out of all their cores?
Oh, Wind Ranger.
Okay. What other hero might show in lane?
Other than that, probably Mirana.
Yeah. So what two heroes on their team dictate most likely where they are?
The Wind Ranger and Mirana.
Great. Right? So you can actually use that for map awareness too. Like, that's actually a map awareness thing. If teams are good, like if they have a Necro, they'll be behind their Necro. If teams are good and they have if they have a lineup with like Slardar Ricky, they'll be behind one of the other cores, right? Or like one of the other heroes showing in lane. It's almost always the hero that's most likely to show in lane that dictates where the opponent is. If the Slardar is showing in lane, what does that mean?
If the Slardar is showing in lane, then what does that mean?
Yeah.
Either the other, probably the other cores are smoked, or they're jungling, or...
so let's be honest. What does it mean if Slardar is showing in lane?
Well, I mean, Slardar's not playing right if he's showing in lane.
Okay, so what I'm saying is they can't have kill potential. He's just fucking terrible, and you farm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Like, the point is, I'm telling you what they're supposed to be doing. If they're not doing it, what does that mean for you? You have to know it's punishable, and you have to know why it's punishable. It's like, why is Slardar showing in lane so bad? Because you can farm wherever the fuck you want if Slardar's missing, or if Slardar's not missing, right? Obviously, in this game, it's a bit different because they have, like, so many kill heroes. But, like, if Slardar shows top and somebody else shows bottom, you just got to kill one of them, right? Like, that's just bad by them to show on their initiators in lane. So, okay. Sorry, I know I said any last questions. I know I kind of interrupted you.
No, you're totally good. It's more of I was just more of recapping a lot of the things that I think I need to work on.
Right on, man. Thanks for signing up. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Sure thing.
Have a good one, man.
You too.